Greetings, fellow action figure connoisseurs, and welcome to another episode of Digital Caveman Presents Surprise Thursday. I, as always, am your host, the Digital Caveman, and today I will be presenting you with the Mythic Legions Ice Troll. And a big boy he is, too. Let's get into it! Let's start things off with a look at the packaging, or at least an attempt to look at the packaging. We'll do the best we can do. On the top here, we got Mythic Legions, and the whole box is covered with this Mythic Legions artwork, and it's very, very fantastic. See, from the top around to the front, and the window just kind of breaks it up there a little bit. But a nice big window showcasing the figure and some of his accessories, Mythic Legions, and then down the side here, you can see all that great artwork. Then on the bottom, small print, fine print, legalese print, made in China print, Mythic Legions print, Store Horseman and Source Horseman print, a barcode here. Warning, don't stick things in your pie hole that do not belong there. MythicLegions.com to see them all. And then in the background again, all that nice, lovely, lovely, lovely artwork. And then again here on this side, some more of that artwork. And it's hard to get it all in frame on this big old box. So there you got some, looks like some regular trolls there fighting a knight. And then here is some text. And if you want to pause it right here and read all that, please feel free to do so at this time. And there we have it. Let's see what's on the other side. And again, it's some nice artwork up here on the top, and just, I mean, look at that, it's fantastic, awesome. And then here is some text for the Ice Troll, and again, if you want to pause it right here and read all that, feel free to do so at this time. And then finally, we're moving on to the back, and again, just nice, huge, fantastic fantasy artwork. And I mean, this is just, it's wonderful. I love this. Well, that, my friends, does it for a look at this fantastic and huge packaging. Well, let's take a look at the figure and his accessories. And we won't have to use any handy dandy tweezers here, I don't think. So here we do have his big old ice sword. And I have to say, it's kind of impressive looking. It has a lot of nice molded details in it for something, you know, this big. And then, you know, the blade is made of a translucent plastic, which I'm sure is probably going to mess up on the green screen, but it is what it is. It's got some nice coloring to the outer edges. Nice white to show it's really frosty, and then clear in the middle to show that it is pure ice, I suppose. Now, coming out of the box, you do have to put the blade into the hilt, and I will have to say the hilt looks very Norse to me, and it's got a nice little point on the end of it there, nice little nicks and stuff in it. Very, very cool piece. The next accessory is the extra portrait or head or whatever you want to call it. And you can see it's got a dumbbell on it right here. Nice beard, and just all around not, you know, I mean, it's really cool looking. Not nice looking though. It's very intimidating. You know, if you were to see this beast in the wild coming at you, this is very intimidating. And look at the white eyes, and then the eyelids, and then around, and just there's like a two-tone coloration to him. It's like he's got some nice parts up here that have some, maybe some white and some off-white, and then the blue in the background, and just his beard is kind of has some yellowing in it. Not on the bottom though. And then look at all that nice detail in the horns, and one of them is broken off from battles, and then you've got the teeth inside the mouth, and you can see it's a little bit, I don't know if it's shiny plastic or a little bit of a gloss coat that they put on it in there. And then he's got these nice scars. I reckon he don't think they're nice, but yeah, I think it makes him look cool. And this is probably the head that I will use on this big old boy. Now, let's talk about the sculpted detail a bit, because honestly, the size and the detail and the paint and stuff is where it's at on this guy, and we'll get into that in a minute. But look at that eye. I mean, and then around it, and it's got that same two-tone stuff going on. It looks like he's got a smear of blood there. At least I hope it's blood. And then, you know, he's got like some fade into from the top of him down into the extremities, and the same fade like from the back of his arms to the front. He's got some nice soft goods here, and you know, look at that detail in the fingernails and on the hands. And again, like that two-tone, not so much here on his wrist bracers, and not so much here. You can see he's got some muffin top going on here where he's hanging over his belt. I have that problem too. And you know, it doesn't look like as much of a paint app on this. Maybe a little bit of a dry brush. At least they're on the back. No, there's some on the sides too. So that's cool. And then that same two tones on the legs and the fades on the inside as well. And look, he's even wearing drawers. So that's cool. And then details on the bottom of the feet. And I think the box actually rubbed off on the toes there. Now let's talk about the articulation, which is not where it's at with this figure. Although it is a really cool figure. It's just the articulation that he has, it doesn't meet my expectations of when I looked at it. Now I did, you know, I knew going in that he did not have any knee articulation. And even then, like, some of the range of motion on it isn't the best. And again, that's not to say this is a bad figure, and you know, I guess maybe he's an evil guy. But it's just, it is what it is, I suppose, the way that it's made. And it's a lot lighter than it looks. And even like in the box, you know, in the box he felt a lot heavier than what he actually is, because like all of this is hollow. I think like most of the insides of the arms and stuff are hollow, and the legs feel like they might be hollow as well. So a lot of hollow plastic, it feels like, going on with this guy. Now let's talk about the articulation. He can look up that far, he can look down that far, and no chicken neck. He does have a little bit of waggle side to side. He can do the full exorcist, so that's cool. Even the head, this head feels hollow. So I mean, the whole thing could be hollow, and that's good, because who wants a figure that weighs 500 pounds? But still, at the shoulder, he can forcibly do a 360 degree rotation there. He does have a joint here at his shoulder, and it allows him to raise his arm up that far. Single hinge and swivel at the elbow, and it will, it will go rotate a full 360 degrees, and then you get that much bend on the elbow. And of course, you know, they will go straight mostly. Now at the waist, there is a cut here at the waist. Unfortunately, you don't get very much range with it. Very, very little range. And it's really hard to turn. So you get about that much there going on. Now at the hips, there's no in and out, no ball joint or anything like that going on. He simply can move his leg forward that far and backwards that far. That is it, my friends. And again, no knees. And even though the feet are on a dumbbell, at least as far as I can tell, there's really not a lot of tilt or anything going on. Like this one does a little bit, and it will rotate 360 degrees, and you kind of see this kind of gap in there. So I don't know if it's like coming out or whatever, but this one, it has none of that. Well, I say it might have a little bit of rocker in there, and again, it rotates 360 degrees all the way around. So the articulation on this guy, and it makes it where he doesn't want to stand up real good. So the articulation, or at least the range of motion, well, no, I'm going to just go ahead and say, like, the articulation scheme that they picked out for this guy, even though, you know, I know he's a bigger dude, so his range of motion isn't going to be that of, you know, a more lithe figure, supposedly. But it just seems like this guy's range of movement is super... It's a little frustrating how limited that it is when you look at this guy and the, you know, reputation of Four Horsemen, Mythic Legions. And again, I mean, it looks fantastic. The paint's on it, the sculpt on it is really, really great. The weapon is great. The alternate head is great. Even this head on here is great. It's just not as evil looking as the other one to me. And I don't know, it's very limiting, and it's a little frustrating that he only moves the way that he moves. And I realize putting, you know, super articulation in a figure this size, you know, he may have been a $300 figure. But again, you know, with the reputation, and you know, I'm talking about it now when I should be talking about it later, so we'll just save it for later. But I will have to say that the range on this guy is a little disappointing for sure. Well, that, my friends, does it for a look at the figure and its accessories. It's time for my favorite part of a review, comparisons. And here in the back, we have the Mythic Legions Ice Troll. Then on the front line, we have the Mythic Legions Thrace Wraithhailer, the Mythic Legions Arakagor, and the Mythic Legions Demistros. Here are some more comparisons. All the way in the back again, we have the Mythic Legions Ice Troll. Then on the front line, we have from Boss Fight Studios, Epic's Hacks line, the Barbarian Deathmonger. From X-Ray Studios, Combatants Fight for Glory line, Thales the Shredder. And from Harbinger Studios' Savage Crucible line, the Lumerian Royal Guard. For our last set of comparisons, here we have all the way in the back, the Mythic Legions Ice Troll. Then in the front, we have from the Marvel Legends series, making his cameo appearance, Stan the Man Lee. From G.I. Joe Classified series, the Hasbro Pulse exclusive Regal variant, Cobra Commander. From Star Wars The Black Series, the Archive Edition 501st Legion Clone Trooper. And for a 7-inch scale comparison, from the Masters of the Universe Masterverse line, the 40th Anniversary He-Man. For final thoughts on the Mythic Legions Ice Troll, to me, and I don't want people to think that I'm hating on this figure, because I'm not hating on it. I just want to point out that there are some perhaps issues with it. Not necessarily issues, maybe it's just faults that I find with it. But in no way, shape, or form am I saying this is a horrible figure and you should avoid it. That is not what I'm saying at all. But I will point out that it is missing some articulation, which I knew the knee articulation was missing going in. I didn't think it would have much articulation in the ankles as well. I was correct on that. But I think the fact that there are no ball hinges in the hips is a mistake. And I think that the arm articulation, while it works well for what it is a bit limited. And as far as the waist articulation goes, as much as it moves, it really shouldn't even be there. It's probably not meant to be an articulation point as much as it's just where the figure is put together. The fuzzier of the soft goods is a bit shitty, so be prepared to find little tufts of hair in places when you go to move this guy around and stuff. So and then the final issue, I guess, that I want people to be aware of before purchasing this. For those of you who are on the fence, you hadn't purchased it yet, you're thinking about purchasing it, is that there's a lot of paint scraping when you put his sword into his hands. And now he holds it well. I will give it that. It doesn't, the sword doesn't come out of his hands easily at all. But again, there's a lot of paint scraping going on while you are adding or removing the weapon from his hands. Now, I do like the sculpt of this figure, especially the head that's on it now. The other head is okay. And if it only came with that head, I probably would have passed on this figure. So that extra head is really what sold me on this one. It gives this guy a really more monstrous look. The other one's kind of, oh, it's a monster. This one is like, oh crap, duh. I don't want that bumble coming after me. So and the sculpt wise, this guy looks awesome. The paint apps on this are awesome. I think maybe they could have used a little bit more dry brushing on the belt. Well, not the belt. The wrist bracers or whatever you want to call them. I think they could have used a bit of dry brush on there, and there may be a bit on there, but they should have done a bit more. But this guy, he's big and he's monstrous, and if that's all you're looking for, then this is the guy for you. If you're looking for something with a lot of articulation, then go ahead and keep looking, because this is not what you want. It's not quite a 5 points of articulation type, I guess, like a Marvel Titan figure. It's not quite that. It's and I'm saying articulation wise, not decoration wise or sculpt wise or anything like that. But it's a bit more than that, but not by a whole lot. Okay? That's my opinion. Your mileage may vary. You may think this is the greatest figure to ever be made. I just don't happen to agree with that. My mileage varies from that. So your mileage may vary from mine. But like I said, sculpt wise, this guy looks fantastic. It's just in the articulation and the range of motion of said articulation that I kind of take issue with. And again, I'm not hating on this guy. I like it. You know, I like it enough. I'm not going to return it. It's mine. I like it. It fills a spot in my collection that I don't have. I can use this not just with Mythic Legions, but I can use it across lines, Star Wars and Masters of the Universe, maybe even G.I. Joe, Marvel. Definitely, I could see this guy battling Thor. So, you know, it's not, again, like I said, it's not a bad figure. I don't hate this figure. It just has some points about it that I didn't like, that you know, anybody looking to pick this guy up really needs to know beforehand. Like I said, just looking at it, you can tell it doesn't have any knee articulation. So that was not a surprise to me. I didn't think it was a big deal. But the articulation in the ankles don't work very well, in my opinion. And, you know, just the overall range of motion on it it's not what it should be for a Mythic Legions figure, at least in, you know, my opinion. Well, that does it for the review. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it. Only support from viewers like you make this programming possible. Each view does count, and I do appreciate each and every single view I receive. Thank you, and thank you so very, very much for supporting this channel through viewing. If you are interested in supporting my channel further, I am now offering memberships at various tiers. Click the join button on my YouTube page, or check this video's description for the link and see if any membership offers are right for you, but only if you are in a position to do so. Comment below, like, share, subscribe if you would like to see more content or just help the channel grow, or both, that's even better. And don't forget to ding that bell so that in the future you will be notified as my new content becomes available. That's a wrap, folks. I'll see you next time.